So what's up everybody, welcome to this episode of The Adapted Lens. I'm your host, Jason Girallo. So on this episode, I wanted to talk about the top 5 camera buying mistakes. If you've seen my first video, you know I've probably made every single mistake in the book, and so I'm trying to save you some hard-earned scratch. So here they are in no particular order, my top 5. Number 1, buying the big box store kit. So you go to Walmart, you go to Best Buy, you go to wherever you shop, and you see those, one camera, maybe 2 lenses for $549, and you think that's a great deal. So you just hop on there and you buy it. The problem is oftentimes those quote-unquote box kits usually include inferior lenses, and what's worse, oftentimes they're overpriced for what you're actually getting. So the key there is really just to go online and do some research before you jump on in. And I think that's probably going to be the key throughout this entire thread, is to go online and do your research. Yeah, text message. So number 2, blowing your entire camera budget without considering accessories. So again, you go to the store, you buy your camera, buy your lenses, whatever you're going to end up getting, and you fail to consider maybe you need a flash. Maybe you want a diffuser for your flash. What about a tripod? There's nothing worse than blowing your entire budget and then realizing you need more things. So again, like I said, do some research. Number 3, buying new everything. So it's always exciting to unbox a brand new camera. I know, I own like every camera there ever was, right? So instead of going to that store or going online and buying that brand new camera item, I would suggest instead maybe do a little bit of work. Try and go on sites like KEH or MPB.com. Both of those are really reputable, awesome places to buy used gear. I'm not sponsored, I take no money from either of them, but I do buy my own equipment from there sometimes as well. So really a great way to save kind of a lot of money, because whoever owned it before you is of course taking the big hit in capital, and then you get to save that money. Again, going on KEH, they have a rating system. MPB also has a rating system, so you can decide if you want to buy something quote-unquote like new or excellent or used, etc., etc. They have different scales based on how abused the system or equipment looks. But if you buy something in the excellent, excellent plus, or like new, it really is excellent or like new. In fact, most of the time I just go for something that's rated excellent or higher, because generally it's basically perfect anyway, and you wouldn't know the difference except for maybe that quote-unquote new camera smell. Number 4, buying El Cheapo tripod. So if you go out to the store and spend $500 on a camera and a lens, and you spend $50 on a tripod, you're nuts. All right, let me explain. So what are you going to put your camera on when you're taking a landscape picture? Tripod. What about when you're done taking pictures and you want to just take a rest and you have your tripod with you? You're going to put it on your tripod. What about a long exposure? Your tripod. What if you want to be in the picture? A tripod, right? So a tripod's absolutely the most essential piece of technology beyond your camera and a single lens that you could possibly buy. So spending $500 on a camera and $50 on a tripod is completely insane. Instead, buy the very best tripod you can afford. You'll have it forever. The tripod that I use most of the time actually is about 15 years old. I've replaced the head on it once because the ball head wore out, but other than that, the legs are perfect. Yeah, it's a little heavier because it's aluminum. It wasn't carbon fiber like today's tripods are made out of carbon fiber a lot, but at the same time, it is durable. It's super stable. It elevates to a height that you want. So that's really a key too, is make sure you buy a tripod that is as tall as you'd ever want it to be, because you can always make a tripod lower to the ground, but once it's at its maximum height, it can't go any higher. So keep that in mind as well. A lot of times I see people with travel tripods, you know, they're about chest high. That's really not the ideal thing, because you're kind of crouching over, you're always getting a weird perspective. So consider getting a tripod that's a little taller. You know, eye height for you is probably what I would consider to be ideal. I've seen some folks with tripods that are, you know, stepladder height, which is crazy, but if they tend on doing things where you're on an uneven surface and you need that longer leg to make up for that uneven surface, it might be a good investment. But initially out of the gate, just expect to spend $200 to $300 on a good tripod. And number 5 kind of goes along with number 1, and that is buying a kit lens instead of buying a prime lens. And so usually when you go out to a store and you buy, say, a Nikon D3400 or 3500, those are sort of the entry-level DSLR cameras, or say a Sony a6100 or a6400 or whatever the entry-level Sony is. Generally they come with a zoom kit lens, either 16 to 45, 18 to 55, 16 to 55, something like that. It's a variable aperture zoom lens. And the problem is, a lot of times I hear people say they get that camera and lens set up, they take a picture and they say, my pictures look no different than my cell phone. And the problem isn't the camera, it's the lens you put in front of it, right? So you can have as many megapixels in the world, you can have the best sensor in the world on your camera, but if your lens is crap, you're gonna get crap pictures. So instead, do what I suggest and buy a quote-unquote nifty 50. Canon makes a 50mm f1.8, Nikon makes a 50mm f1.8, Sony makes a 50mm f1.8. Just about all the manufacturers make that standard 50 f1.8 lens, and that's really going to set you apart. All of a sudden your pictures are going to have that beautiful background blur. You're really going to stand apart from what your cell phone can do, and capture images that you can be proud of. And I think that's the whole goal, right? So you're buying a camera because your cell phone just wasn't cutting it anymore and you wanted to get better images. And so buying a lens that helps you get those better images is really going to help move your photography forward. And so just a couple of bonus tips. First off, brand name doesn't mean anything. There are a lot of amazing third-party lens manufacturers, and in fact, third-party manufacturers of things like tripods and flashes and stuff like that. So do your research, read your reviews, and see if a third-party camera or lens accessory might be exactly what you need and save you some hard-earned money as well. Another bonus tip, beware of what you see on Google. Also beware of what you watch on YouTube. And I know you're watching this right now on YouTube, but a lot of times YouTubers and reviewers are actually paid by camera manufacturers to give good reviews and may not necessarily be a fair or honest opinion about the camera or lens that you're looking at. So always watch lots of videos or read lots of reviews to put together a comprehensive view before spending your money. Because the last thing you want to do is take advice from someone who's paid to tell you that camera is awesome. Another bonus tip, do some serious soul searching before jumping into a camera brand, because a lot of times it's very expensive to switch. So if you decide just on the whim you're going to buy a Sony, and then 2 months down the road you see Canon has a much better camera for about the same price, and you decide you want to switch to Canon from Sony or from Nikon or whatever, you sell that equipment, you buy a Canon. Well, inevitably Sony's going to come out with something a little better a few months later. So then you sell your Canon equipment, you buy the Sony. It ends up being where you never ever settle down into a system. And the honest truth is that all of these cameras are amazing. And if something that your camera doesn't do that the camera from another company does, just give it a little bit of time. Sure enough, they all kind of watch each other and they will compete with each other. So sooner or later, that Nikon that you think, oh, it's way behind, it's going to catch up, because they're not going to want to fall behind. So really, whatever camera system you buy into, remember to try and stick with it for the long term. It's going to save you a ton of money, and more importantly, it's going to allow you to spend your money, instead of on constantly chasing a different camera system, on better lenses, which is really going to improve your photography a lot faster. I've done this. I've switched, if you've seen my first video, across the board to a million different camera companies. Finally, I've decided that's it. I'm settled on Sony. I'm shooting Sony. I have two Sony bodies now, which I'll talk about here in another video coming up shortly. But really what you want to do is make sure that whatever camera you're buying into is going to suit your needs right away and also into the future, and then just stick with it no matter what. So that about wraps it up for this video. So in the comments below, please tell me what kind of camera mistakes you've made. I know we've all made tons of them, but hopefully this can save you some money and put you onto the path for some better equipment. So if you like this video or any of the videos I've produced, I'd love it if you would like, share, and subscribe. It really helps. I'm trying to build this channel from nothing, and I got a long way to go. So until next time, bye for now.